Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Module 4 of Strategic Management course. This module covers strategic management process. Till now, we have covered all the basics in strategic management. We'll be also seeing what are the mitigating strategies which can improve our strategic decision making. We'll be talking about the role of ethics and corporate social responsibility in overall strategic management process. By end of this module, participants will be able to understand the strategic management process and its importance in organizational success. They'll be able to identify potential risks and challenges in the strategic management process. They'll be able to develop the ability to identify, assess, and implement mitigation strategies to overcome these risks and uncertainties in the strategic management process, ensuring strategic adaptability and resilience. Lastly, they'll be able to evaluate the role of ethics and corporate social responsibility in strategic decision making to ensure alignment with stakeholders' expectation and sustainable organizational practices. This is the entire strategic management process which we are going to focus on. It starts with establishment of strategic intent, which means you need to decide that where you want to take your organization. It establishes that where organization want to reach in alignment with the stakeholders' interest. Once we are clear with where exactly we want to go, we are required to do environmental analysis, which is a process of monitoring, evaluating, and disseminating information from the environment to key people in the organization. It is important to understand what environment offers, what comes in forms of opportunities and threats, what internal we have within our organization. So, environmental analysis helps us to identify those strategic factors. Once we are clear with our strategic factors, the next step is to formulate the strategies. Strategies are actionable plans which are formulated to achieve a particular goal. Once we formulate plans, we put those plans into action. And then we see that the purpose for which strategy was formulated, whether it has been accomplished or not. So for that, we evaluate and control our strategy. These are the steps which we are required to follow as part of strategic management process. Let's take these steps one by one. So firstly, to start with, establishment of strategic intent. This stage involves defining the organization vision, mission, and objectives. The strategic intent provides clarity about what organization aim to achieve in the long run, which is in alignment with the stakeholders' interest. It tells you where you want to see your organization, maybe 5 years or 10 years down the line. Strategic intent gives us the clarity that where you want to go. It involves establishment of vision, mission, goals, objectives, and plan. What is vision? Vision gives answer to the question, where are we going and why? It paints the picture for future's destination and provides a rationale for going there. It is more of a dream that where you want to go and why. Once you are clear with the vision, then you establish your mission, which provides answer to the questions: what we do, who are we, why are we here. It basically explains the organization purpose and reason for its existence. It is something which tells that in which particular industry a particular company is and what they are doing. This focus more on your present, whereas vision focus on your future. Once we are clear with our vision and mission, next step is we are required to establish goals and objectives. What are goals and objectives? They are the end results which an organization strives for. They are the yardsticks or the benchmarks against which our performance is evaluated. It is said that one should always set SMART goals, where it refers to specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. We are going to talk about it in detail in our module 6. So, what's the difference between goals and objectives? Is it same? Because most of the times they are used interchangeably. But there is a difference between goals and objectives. Goals are more subjective. Objectives are more objective in nature. They are more quantitative in nature, whereas goals are more qualitative. Objectives have a time frame. They are always time bound. To increase profitability can be your goal. To increase profitability in year 2025 over 2024 by 10% is your objective. It is something which is measurable and are more time bound. Once we establish our goals and objectives, then we formulate multiple plans in order to achieve our objectives, ultimately goals, which are part of our mission, and it should be in alignment with our overall vision. So therefore we say that the vision is one and plans are many. Strategic intent is clear about where we want to go, but it is flexible to the means that how are we going there. There is a clarity that where you want to take your organization, but it gives you certain kind of flexibility that how you want to go there. It could be by plan A, plan B, plan C or any other, but there is a flexibility. So this is about strategic intent. About this we are going to discuss in detail in our module 6. Once we are clear with our intent, our vision, next step is we are required to do environmental analysis. A company belongs to the environment. It takes resources from the environment, so it is the duty of the company to use those resources judicially and to return back to the environment. So, analyzing your environment is very important. If you want to survive, if you want to thrive in the long run, you have to make sure that you are aligned with the environmental trends. So, environmental analysis is a process of scanning, monitoring, evaluating, and disseminating of information from the environment to key people in the organization. It includes doing scanning, that is identifying the environmental trends, appraisal by looking at the impact of those trends on the industry, and evaluation, how our company is responding to those external opportunities and threats. All these are the parts of environmental analysis. So when we do environmental analysis, we have to look at external environment as well as internal environment. External environment will give us opportunities and threats. Internal environment will give us strengths and weaknesses. They are those factors which are within the organization. They are those factors which are outside the organization. External environment is again divided into societal environment or task environment. This is also known as macro and this is known as micro. They are those factors which are outside the organization and affect long-term decisions of a firm. Micro are those factors which are outside the organization but affect short-term decisions of the firm as they are close to the organization. For a company, its task environment is basically the industry in which it operates. So it includes factors like competitors, suppliers, customers. They are part of our task environment. Whereas societal environment or macro environment includes factors like economic, political, technological, or so on. So once we do environmental analysis, we get our strategic factors, which I said, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. That is the main purpose of doing environmental analysis. After environmental analysis is the stage of strategy formulation. This stage involves developing actionable strategies based on insights from environmental analysis. You are required to leverage your strengths to capture the opportunities. Strategy formulation is done at various levels: corporate level, business level, functional level. So once we evaluate our environment and we need to use our strengths and there are certain opportunities available, so what we usually do, we combine our strengths to capitalize on the opportunities available from the external environment. It provides answer to the question, which products to invest in, which products to divest. If you have decided that you want to expand, whether you should expand related industry or unrelated, whether you should expand locally, nationally, or internationally, whether you should go for mergers or acquisitions. So all these answers are part of your strategy formulation. As I said, that strategy formulation is done at 3 levels. At corporate level, it is concerned with overall direction. At business level, it is concerned in determining that how to compete or cooperate. At functional level, it is something related to each and every functional area, but it should be in line with the business level strategy and ultimately helps to achieve your corporate level strategies. Success or failure of a company depends upon the type of strategies which they have framed. So this stage is one of the most crucial stage wherein you need to decide that what kind of strategy you should come out with. Once you formulate the strategy, next stage is strategy implementation. That is, putting your plan into action. It is something which is concerned with executing your strategy. It is said that 9 out of 10 successful formulated strategies companies fail to implement. There can be n number of reasons for it. But implementation is considered as more difficult in comparison to formulation, because implementation is done in the realities, and when you formulate, there are various factors which you have not taken into consideration. It is during implementation when you get to know that what are the actual factors which are affecting your strategy. Also, implementation requires interaction among large number of people. It starts from top to bottom. So, it is more time consuming and more complicated process. Implementation is a process by which plans are executed through development of budgets, programs and procedures. So what are programs? Programs are activities needed to accomplish a plan. Budgets are the cost of the program. It checks the financial viability of your plan. Many times your formulated strategies fail because you do not have budget for that particular thing. So, checking the financial viability of your strategy is very important, which requires establishing budgets. And then you have procedures, which are your sequence of steps needed to do a particular job which you have listed in your program. Let's try to understand this with help of example. So, assume that the goal of a particular educational institution is to increase confidence and improve soft skills or managerial skills among its students. For this, they have formulated a strategy wherein students are required to organize annual fest. Now, this is the strategy. For executing this particular strategy, students have laid down programs, budgets, procedures. Programs are list of activities to be performed, which include they have to organize some inter-university competition or events. They have to talk to vendor and arrange all the stuff. They are required to organize some live performances. Also, they might have to organize some workshop. So, all these are the activities which they are required to do in order to implement this particular strategy of organizing annual fest. Now, when we talk about the budgets, that is the cost of the program, it will check the financial viability of this particular program. So, for example, if it requires, they have estimated 1 CR. Now, what will be the sources of it? Maybe they are going to take some kind of sponsorship or from the educational institution or by selling tickets. So, they need to think about the sources and also they need to think about the allocation. Let's say 20 lakh is required for prize money, 20 lakh is required for live performer, 20 lakh is for hospitality. Tent and other arrangements, and so on. So they are required to do a proper budgeting in order to see that how much amount is required, how they are going to utilize that amount, what will be the sources of fund. All these are part of your implementation. And last is your procedures, the day-to-day activities to accomplish a particular job. So, finding vendor, negotiating is a kind of a procedure for achieving a particular step. Preparing event calendar, fixing the schedule, getting sponsors. So all these are the procedures which are required to be followed to implement that particular program. So repeating again, plans are put into action through establishment of programs, budgets and procedures. In addition to it, implementation also required in an organization. If a strategy has to be implemented, management has to make sure of resource allocation. They are required to make sure the kind of culture is suitable for implementing that particular strategy. They also have to work upon creating proper reward system in order to motivate employees in executing that particular task. So there are other steps which are required to be followed, which we will be covering in our module 18, 19 and 20 related to implementation, evaluation and control. Once we implement a strategy, next step is we are required to evaluate and control. It is a process by which corporate activities and performances results are monitored so that actual performance can be compared with the desired performance. So the purpose for which a strategy was formulated, has it been accomplished or not, that we get to know in our evaluation and control phase, wherein we will be comparing our actual performance with the benchmark or the desired performance. And whatever deviations are, we need to work in overcoming those deviations. Sometimes when there is overperformance or a better performance, we need to see that the standards which we set, was they up to the par or they need to be revised. If our performance is lacking in comparison to desired performance, we need to figure out the gaps, and sometimes standards are also required to be updated. So all these are the steps which we follow in evaluation and control, which become the basis for our next formulation of strategy. So this is the entire strategic management process which companies are required to follow. Now let's take an example of Amazon for its strategic management process. The company established its strategic intent as becoming Earth's most customer-centric company. So this is the overall vision of the organization. Whatever strategies the company formulate and execute, it should be in aligned with the overall intent of the organization. Now, as part of their environmental analysis from internal environment, the company found that they have a strength in terms of vast logistics network, advanced AI system, strong brand name, and also it recognizes its weakness in terms of high operational cost. Now, through PESTEL, they get to know that there is an opportunity in terms of rise of e-commerce, increasing global internet penetration, along with the threats of increasing competition and regulatory challenges in different countries. By doing environmental analysis, the company has found its internal and external strategic factors. Now, combining it they have formulated certain strategies in terms of increasing Prime membership, investing in cloud computing, entering new market to capitalize on the opportunity available, and also one of the key strategy which they have decided is to offer fast delivery and competitive pricing to protect themselves from the challenge of competitors. Now, to execute these strategies, the company has expanded its distribution center worldwide. They also introduced Prime Day sales to increase customer loyalty. They are offering localized services such as Amazon Pay in India to facilitate digitalized transactions. So all these are part of their implementation procedures. Lastly, for evaluation and control, the company is comparing their performance using key metrics like customer satisfaction, subscription growth from Prime, AWS revenue, profitability in different regions, in order to see that the benchmark which they have set, whether they have accomplished or some kind of new strategies are required to achieve those standards. So this is the entire strategic management process which has been followed at Amazon to achieve its strategic intent of becoming Earth's most customer-centric company. Now, moving forward, what could be the different kind of problems or challenges which can come in strategic management process? Let's do with the example of Harley Davidson. Harley was once upon a time king of roads in 1950s with no competition until Honda from Japan entered the industry in 1958. Honda's threat was not considered serious as the company has built a strong base of loyal customers and it was not likely that they will switch to Honda. Japan was a bitter enemy of US during World War II and Harley people felt that people will not patronize anything from their enemy. Japan was also known for cheap quality products at that particular point of time. So Honda introduced lightweight motorcycles while Harley considers its motorcycle as sports vehicle. Honda introduced them as transportation vehicles. When Honda entered, Harley took no action, either reactive or proactive. When demand from army slackened, these bikes were brought only by young and non-traditional people, which created negative impressions in minds of people. Honda targeted at women and students and tried to change the public perception. Later on, we all know that Japanese manufacturers held over 90% of market share and Harley, which was a market leader once upon a time, held only 5.7%. Now in this entire scenario, what do you think? Where this company went wrong? What were the mistakes which they did? Some of the reasons which can be summarized are Harley being complacent, conservatism and conceit. What do we mean by complacent? It is a kind of a self-satisfaction when you feel that you are the market leader, you have everything and no one will be able to take away your market share. Conservatism is aversion of risk-taking. When you do not want to change, when you do not want to see that there is a challenge coming you and you do not want to react. As it was mentioned and in the case that when Honda entered, Harley did not react it in any way. And conceit is kind of superiority complex. When you feel that you have the maximum market share and no one can take away that market share away from you. So they were also having this feeling that they are number one and they will never be replaced by any other competitor. There was no innovation for years and no planned change when Honda entered. The company was relying only on old technology. They did not change their technology. They did not adapt themselves according to the changing environmental trend. Moreover, it also created a poor social image, wherein it was basically mentioned in the case that they were focusing on non-traditional people, which created a negative impression in minds of customers because Harley was giving only one kind of impression, whereas Honda was targeting at different market segments also. So these were certain reasons why Harley lost its competitive advantage. In addition to it, we are going to talk about the potential risk and challenges in strategic management process. Firstly, uncertainty in the external environment. Many times the environment is so uncertain, it is so unpredictable that you do not know that what may happen because of economic instability or because of geopolitical tensions. Your decision making or your strategic management process may suffer from certain kind of flaws. Example, a sudden global crisis such as COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the supply chain and customer demand patterns in almost all the industries. So something which was not planned for and it suddenly happened, because of which what you thought of formulating, you were not able to do that thing. So because of uncertainty in the external environment, your strategic management process may suffer. Inadequate environmental analysis. Because of under or lack of environmental analysis, many times companies tend to ignore new or potential competitor. They ignore change in taste and preferences of customers. They might ignore some new government regulations. So many times your strategic management process suffers from inadequate environmental analysis. For example, Nokia's failure to adapt to the smartphone market resulted from underestimating competitors like Apple and Samsung. Third challenge could be cognitive biases. Strategists are human beings, so they suffer from various kind of cognitive biases which may impact their decisions. These biases can include overconfidence, herding, anchoring, confirmation bias, loss aversion, and so on. So what are these biases? Human beings try to become rational, but their rationality is restricted because of various factors such as limited cognitive capability, lack of time and resources, imperfect information. So they use certain kind of mental heuristics or shortcuts in order to take their decisions. Many times our decision making becomes so subjective, which is influenced by various factors like overconfidence, where you believe more in your abilities and you feel that whatever good happens to you is because of you and not because of any other factor. But if something bad is happening, you start blaming external factors for that particular thing. That is overconfidence, which usually impact your decision making. Herding is a tendency to follow others. Rather than using your own mind, you start following the herd, you start following the market, or you start following the crowd. That is herding. Anchoring is basically taking your decision based on a particular reference point against which you evaluate your conditions. So that reference point does not have any logical way of setting it. So that is anchoring. Next, confirmation. Confirmation is kind of where you only focus on your preconceived beliefs. If someone is saying anything, you only focus on those facts which is filling or which is meeting your preconceived notion. You have the thinking or the ability of confirming your thoughts and then take decisions based on that. Loss aversion, where you always want to avoid losses. So that also impact your decision making. So because of all these cognitive biases, it can affect our strategic management process. For example, overconfidence in existing strategies might prevent exploring innovative alternatives, which may hamper your overall strategic management process. Then we have lack of reliable data. Many times the data which we are using for basing our decisions is incorrect, and as a result of which our process may suffer. Example, incorrect market data can result in launching a product in an unprofitable segment. Then, conflicts among stakeholders. Everyone has their own priority. Someone wants profitability, some focus on sustainability. So everyone focus on their own kind of goals and priorities, which can again hinder our implementation. Example, resistance from employees during mergers or restructuring can slow down your implementation. Next is resource constraint, lack of resources, be it financial, tangible, or any other resource in terms of technology or a natural resource that can also impact your strategic management process. For example, startups may have innovative ideas but lack funding to execute them effectively. To continue with the risk and challenges, risk of over-planning or under-planning. Over-planning usually leads to analysis paralysis. And when there is under-planning, it impacts execution of strategy. Example, over-analyzing market entry may cause a company to lose its first mover advantage. You may delay your decision because of your over-analyzing or because of your analysis paralysis. Failure in implementation. Many times our best laid plans may fail because of lack of coordination or because of resistance from employees or because of lack of resources or because of any factor which is affecting or hindering your implementation. Example, poor training and support for employees during the rollout of any new technology can lead to inefficiencies. Then we have inertia. Inertia is a tendency to remain unchanged. When you do not want to change, it could be because of any factor which is stopping you to adapt to a change. Example, Kodak's reluctant to shift to digital photography led to its decline because of the inertia which was there in the company. Prior strategic commitments. When you have already invested your resources in one business and there is sudden change in taste and preferences of customers, so it's difficult for taking out resources from that particular industry and invest in some other businesses because of your prior strategic commitment. So it's not only a financial resource but also your human resources and other resources available in that particular organization. For example, IBM had major investments in mainframe computer business. It was stuck with significant resources specialized to that business. So when there was change in taste and preferences towards small computers, the company was not able to shift because they have already invested their resources in mainframe computers. Then we have another Icarus paradox. Icarus is a figure in Greek mythology who uses a pair of wings in order to flee from an island where he was locked as a prisoner. Using those wings, he flew higher and higher and higher and he reached towards the sun. Because of the heat of the sun, his wings got melted because they were made from wax. He fell down and he died. Here the paradox is that its most important assets, that is the wings, ability to fly, became a reason for his decline. So, many times organizations also, they become so much over-dazzled by their early success, which leads to their failure. One of the example of this is a pioneer in mini computers, DEC. Its downfall stemmed from overconfidence in its mini computers and engineering prowess, ignoring changing customer needs, ultimately leading to its acquisition by Compaq in 1998. So Icarus paradox is more of overconfidence which you get because of your early success. So therefore it is said that one should not be blinded by the success. If you're getting early success, you should consolidate it and then you should move. Last reason which could affect your strategic management process is short-term focus over long-term goals. Rather than focusing on your long-term goals, many times you start focusing on short-term objectives which again impact your overall process. Example, cost-cutting measures may harm innovation and future competitiveness. Now, in this particular scenario, you are required to identify what all factors have led to the company's failure. Companies is blockbuster. So Blockbuster was once undisputed leader in home movie rentals with thousands of stores across the globe and a loyal customer base. In early 2000, as digital disruption began to reshape the entertainment industry, a small startup called Netflix offered DVD rentals by mail and eventually online streaming. Blockbuster had several opportunities to acquire Netflix or develop a similar digital platform, but it dismissed the idea, believing that customers prefer the in-store experience. Its top management, deeply committed to traditional retail model, underestimated how quickly technology and customer behavior were changing. When Netflix's popularity soared, Blockbuster made a late attempt to enter the streaming business but was already losing market share rapidly. The leadership faced internal conflicts, particularly between the corporate owners and franchisee operators who resisted closing physical stores. Furthermore, Blockbusters were burdened by debt and lacked financial flexibility to pivot. Strategic decisions were delayed, and when made, they were poorly implemented. Eventually, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy in 2010, while Netflix went on to become a global streaming powerhouse. In this scenario, what all risks and challenges which we have studied are highlighted. So one of the main is inertia. That is, they did not want to change. There were various opportunities to develop a similar digital platform, but company dismissed the idea. So this is inertia. They believed that customer preferred in-store experience. Its top management was also committed to traditional retail models, underestimated the new technology and customer behavior. So lack of environmental analysis, Icarus paradox, conflicts among stakeholders, as we can see here, that is, there were internal conflicts, focus on short term rather than long term, and also problems in implementation, as it is mentioned here. So all these were the reasons which basically led to downfall of Blockbuster. Now, how we can mitigate these strategies, or what are the ways in order to challenges or risk which we have talked about? One of the strategy is to focus on building blocks of competitive advantage. As we discussed that there are only two sources of competitive advantage, low cost and differentiation. Companies are required to focus on the building blocks, which includes superior efficiency, superior quality, superior innovation, and superior customer responsiveness. Efficiency refers to the amount of input required to produce a particular level of output. Organizational efficiency is measured by employee productivity. The more productive the employee is, the more efficient the company will be. For example, there are two companies A and B. At A, it takes 30 hours to assemble a car. At B, it takes 25 hours to assemble a car. Employee productivity will be high in case of company B. So, overall efficiency will also be high in case of company B. In this particular case, the company B is able to achieve superior efficiency, and it can help company to achieve competitive advantage by focusing on low cost. So whenever we talk about efficiency, the source of competitive advantage will always be cost. Then we talk about superior quality. So quality is a very subjective term which is defined as the attributes which that particular product or service is offering in terms of guarantee, efficiency, durability, warranty, after-sales services, or others. So, when a company is offering a superior quality product, the source of competitive advantage here would be differentiation. Customers will be willing to pay higher price for such kind of products. So, this is the second building block of competitive advantage. Third is superior innovation. Innovation is act of producing new product or processes. So, we have product innovation, we have process innovation. So, when a company is developing a new product, it is known as product innovation, which can again leads to competitive advantage in terms of differentiation. But when a company focuses on process innovation, such as introducing TQM, Six Sigma, lean manufacturing process, just in time, all these are process innovations which we are going to discuss in detail in our implementation module. But the process innovation can help company to achieve competitive advantage through low cost. And last is superior customer responsiveness. In order to achieve superior customer responsiveness, a company is required to respond to customer needs fastly and efficiently in comparison to their competitors. Nowadays, companies focus on CRT, customer response time, in order to provide a product or deliver a service. For example, online grocery once upon a time used to take days in order to be delivered. Then another company started with one night delivery. Then Zepto focused on 10 minutes delivery in order to provide the services at a much faster rate to achieve superior customer responsiveness. So, superior customer responsiveness helps to achieve competitive advantage through differentiation. So, to mitigate the risk and challenges associated with strategic management process, a company should focus on building blocks of competitive advantage. Now, if you read this scenario of regaining McDonald's competitive advantage, how McDonald's has regained their competitive advantage, which building block the company has focused on. Started in 1955, McDonald's has grown into largest restaurant chain in the world with 32,000 stores in 120 countries. For decades, its success was grounded in giving customers value for money, quick service and consistent quality. In late 90s and early 2000, company started losing its edge when it was attacked for contributing to obesity. The company adopted a makeover strategy to regain its competitive advantage. It scrapped its supersized menu and added healthier options. They also found that people were eating more chicken than beef, so they emphasized more chicken. The company changed its emphasis on beverages by offering better quality coffee, including different flavors using filtered water. The company did not lose its sight to keep the cost low and service quick. They also changed the design of restaurant to capture more customers. So in this scenario, what are the building blocks which has been highlighted by the company? The company has focused on superior efficiency, as it is mentioned that they did not lose their sight to keep the cost low by focusing on value for money, consistent quality and good quick service. So superior efficiency is one building block. They focused on superior quality. How? By adding healthier option, by emphasizing on different kind of beverages, using filtered water. So focus is also on superior quality. You focus on superior innovation by scrapping their supersized menu and adding healthier option. So that is product innovation, new products. They also improve their processes. So process innovation is also there. And also the company has emphasized on superior customer responsiveness. They found that people are eating more chicken than beef, so they emphasize chicken. understanding customer needs and then providing the products according to their needs is also superior customer responsiveness. So the company has focused on all the 4 building blocks in order to regain its competitive advantage. Other mitigation strategies could be conducting environmental scan properly, leveraging data analytics for informed decision making. For example, Amazon uses data analysis to optimize supply chain management, predicting demand and personalized customer recommendation. As it is said that data is the next oil. So one should take advantage of using data analytics for predicting and for real-time monitoring. Fostering open communication and stakeholder alignment, involving all the employees, having transparency, fostering on open communication can always reduce the resistance. During Apple's product launches, the company aligned its team, suppliers, marketing efforts to transparent communication of its strategic goals. Once you communicate to everyone that what exactly you want to achieve and with a particular strategy, what will be the advantage, then employees will be able to understand and they will be able to adapt to that change. Implement change management practices to address resistance. For example, Microsoft successfully transitioned to a cloud-first strategy by reskilling employees and creating a culture of innovation. Establishing a feedback mechanism for ongoing evaluation and adaptation. Google's practice of regularly assessing its products ensure continuous improvement and alignment with user needs. So it's important that you should have a constant feedback from your customer, from your employees, and you should work on that. Prioritizing long-term goals along with short-term goals, using techniques like balanced scorecard in order to focus or in order to strive a balance between your short-term and your long-term goals. We are going to discuss about this particular technique in our module 6. Now, the last topic is that what is the role of ethics and CSR in management? What do we understand by ethics? The term ethics refers to accepted principles of right or wrong that govern the conduct of an entity. It is something which varies from person to person. What is ethical for one may be unethical for other. Business ethics are accepted principles of right or wrong governing the conduct of business people. What is the root of unethical behavior? Many times business people are unaware that their behavior is questionable because there is no clear-cut guidelines, there is no worldwide code of conduct. So, for example, in one country, accepting or exchanging gift is something which is a business practice, but in other country, it could be considered as offering bribe. So, because of differences in cultural values, many times companies or individuals do not know that they are behaving unethically. Differences between values between business people and stakeholders. Someone may want profit, someone have their own priority in terms of sustainability or long-term success of a particular organization. So because of differences in the values of business people and stakeholders, many times the decision making which is done in the organization, it suffered from unethical practices. Unethical behavior by company leaders. Leaders set the examples for others to follow. So if leaders are behaving unethically, then definitely all other players in that particular organization will behave unethical. And one of the famous example of this be Satyam. When the leader was involved in unethical practices, it spread in the entire organization. Lastly, ambiguous situations. Sometimes you face certain situation where you do not know what exactly has to be done because of lack of clear set of guidelines and you end up doing something unethical. So all these are the roots of unethical behavior which can occur in a particular organization. How to deal with this unethical behavior? Number 1, having a proper code of ethics. It's very important that a company should have a proper code of ethics, and not only having code of ethics is enough, it should be something which should be implemented. At Xerox, the company came out with the code of ethics that we are honest with our customers, no deals, no bribes, no secrets, no fooling around with prices. A kickback in any form kicks anybody out. And there were many instances wherein employees who were involved in unethical practices, they were kicked out from the company. So having it and implementing it, two are different things, but the company should make sure that the code of ethics are implemented. Ethical leadership, like we have examples of Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, who urged fellow American CEOs to stop donating to politicians until they start running government successfully. They also partnered with No Labels to host a national telephone forum for Americans to come together to find solution for the nation problem. Azim Premji is another example of ethical leadership who runs non-profit organization focusing on improving public education in India. He donated over 21 billion as of 2024 to charity, highest in the world. Another example of this would be the ethical corporate governance which is followed at Wipro. So these are the examples of ethical leaders. So if leaders are doing ethical, then it will definitely inspire other employees in the organization to work towards ethical things. Based on this, an organization has three major responsibilities, which is triple bottom line: people, profit, planet. Profit refers to good governance, wherein companies should work in achieving profit, but they should do it in a transparent and ethical way. Another responsibility of company is towards the planet, that is the environment. They are taking resources from the environment, so it is their duty to use it and return it judicially. So they have to take care of the environment in which they operate. Third is people, that is social performance, wherein company has the responsibility to work towards its people within the organization and the external community in which they operate. So these are the three major responsibilities which a company is required to fulfill, and they have to make sure that these responsibilities are aligned in their strategic management process. So this has basically led to evolution of CSR concept. The concept was introduced in 1953 by H.R. Bowen in his book Social Responsibilities of Businessmen. At that time, there were conflicting views with respect to term CSR. Friedman came out with the view that only responsibility of business is to make profits. However, Freeman's view was that the liability of organization management extend beyond the profitability. Then late 90s and early 2000s was the era of scams and scandals, wherein worldwide failures such as Coca-Cola water pollution case, China milk poisoning case, Nike sweatshop incident case. There were corporate governance failure at companies like WorldCom, Enron, Satyam, and many more. At that time, companies started using CSR initiatives as a license to operate. Then it was in 2019 when New Companies Act 2013 was formed, in which the CSR was made mandatory. So India is the first country where it is mandatory, according to which every company having net worth of 500 crore or more, turnover of 1000 crore or more, net profit of 5 crore or more are required to spend 2% of average net profit on CSR activities. So these are the list of activities which have been specified under Schedule 7 of Companies Act, according to which company has to take its CSR. Now, in this way, we have moved from a concept of corporate philanthropy, that is just doing good for the business, to CSR, that is responsibility of business. It is not only doing charity, but it is something which is doing good for the society. So CSR should be integrated in the strategic management process in order to ensure the long-term survival of the companies. Many researchers, academicians, journalists claim that the companies are doing window dressing. Is it window dressing or not? It's an open debate. But we can conclude with the statement that no company can change the world. But let's assume that all businesses would commit to such projects. There is no doubt that the world would be at least a better place where businesses are not harming the society or the environment. So it's important that the ethics and CSR should be integrated in the strategic management process for the long-term survival of the company. With this, I would like to end with this particular module by saying that in a world of uncertainty, strategic management is not just about having a plan. It's about having the insight to adapt, the courage to decide, and the discipline to align every move with purpose. Thank you.